distinguished colleagues on the dais, my dear friends. It is indeed an honor to be conferred this award today by Amity, which itself is a big name today in the world of education. And I'd like to congratulate, along with Dr. Pratibha Jolly, the creation of a category of women achievers in education by Amity. Thank you very much and congratulations. Having said that, however, I have in front of me the invitation that was sent to me, which immediately caught my attention as an educationist, which said, "At Amity we master the science to success. We believe that the art of changing lives is an exact science based upon universal laws of life and not based upon connections, education, or luck." I know this is the occasion to say nice things about one's host, but located as I am in the oldest institution for women in the University of Delhi, the Indraprastha College for Women, dealing as I do with first generation learners who are women, I'm glad Dr. Ashok Chauhan has arrived to hear what I have to say, and so I shall resume my apologies to the hosts. It's an occasion, as I said, to say nice things about the host, having, of course, thanked you for conferring the award and for thinking about women achievers. I had gone on to say that your document sent out interested me very much as an educationist, where you say that at Amity we master the science to success. We believe that the art of changing lives is an exact science. And I was saying, located where I am in the oldest college for women, dealing as I do with first generation learners, and as an educationist who has been in the field for more than 30 years, I could not agree less. Success is not a science. It needs to be defined by each one of us. The art of changing lives is far from an exact science. It is a basis of constant experimentation, constant reinvention, constant revaluation, and the courage to say, no, we were wrong about what we thought was that exact science. Because every moment of my life as the leader of an institution meant for women teaches me that, teaches me how we have to constantly innovate, constantly make space for factors that we had not even thought about, because they do exist in the lives of women. Thank you, Vinita Uppal, for pointing out that women are particularly positioned because they are the biggest non-conformists. And when we move from that position of non-conformism, we have to say nothing is exact. We cannot say our results are bad because the girls did not study. We have to say perhaps they had to go back home to their domestic chores, perhaps they have to look after their younger siblings, perhaps they have to battle every single day to even earn their right as a student in our institution. In that scenario, therefore, the Indraprastha School for Women, I would not want to duplicate what the very meaningful stances that my colleagues on the dais have already pointed out. And they are very, very real and urgent issues of our times. But The Indraprastha College for Women became the pioneering institution that it is today too, because of this perceived need by a handful of men about the choices that were not available to women. Women poised between matriculation and matrimony, could there be a place where they could meet? One of the Indraprastha College has very proud possession, in its very proud possession, archives, and some of the very moving pictures that I see in those archives are of women in ghungat and in veils, in parda, who are experimenting in the laboratory with test tubes, with their flasks, with their flames. And so much that we take for granted about educational institutions, or indeed our right to have education, has been or is enmeshed in such a long history of struggle, in such a long history of hostility, in such a long history of disapproval from patriarchal society. So, Indraprastha's first step into this world with the Indraprastha School in 1904 in a corner of Chippiwara. It is today a heritage site, doing extremely well. And then the college in 1924 is something which is not just about an institution. Indraprastha College is a movement. It is a movement even today. It is a movement which intersected with the national movement, where its girls were jailed and in jail scaled the walls to fly the national colors. It is an institution which intersected with the women's movement to produce some of the biggest names, some of the biggest icons of our own times in the history of the women's movement in India, and indeed that dovetailed into the history of the women's movement in the world. Its students, to say how students can be integrated into building something, you've called it a prosperous nation, and again we need to define what is prosperous here. If it is and indeed about 10 days ago, when the Human Resource Development Minister came to the college to deliver the annual lecture, interestingly, amongst many other things that he said, the most interesting thing that I picked up was that a prosperous nation can be created only by the creation of intellectual property and nothing else. Everything else would be stalled if we did not have enough people going into higher education, into research and development to build intellectual capital, and that is the distinction between developing countries, underdeveloped countries, and the developed worlds. In the developed worlds, the number of people who enter into the arena of research and development is about 40% as compared to 12% in India. Now, as I was just giving you an example, I think much has been said by my previous colleagues. To give you an example, a case study, as it was said, of what people can do on straitened circumstances. In the 1950s, Indraprastha College for Women articulated the desire for a swimming pool. We are still the only college, women's college, to have a swimming pool. In 1950s, you can imagine even articulating that desire would have been a scandal by itself. However, the government said, okay, but we can't give you, we don't have resources, we can't give you all the money, so some of the capital you have to meet by yourselves, and the rest we will do. You have to initiate, you have to put in your own capital, and then we pay the difference. Now, they had no money, because this was truly a time when groups of philanthropists actually financed educational institutions. And so the teachers, students, and the staff and the support staff of the college got together, and in civil lines where the building, the fine colonial building stands today, manually dug out, excavated the earth to create the hole, the pit, where the swimming pool would be located. And today too there stands a marble plaque there commemorating that event. Having dug the hole, they could go to the government and say, okay, now give us money for the tiles and the other implements. so it is possible. Everything is possible. If women could come out of their homes to study, everything is possible. And so with those words, how do we build a prosperous nation? How as women educationists can we play an integrating and involving role in education? I think from my experience that it is to give that space where young people with full of ideas, full of their novelties can find a space for expression, for self-expression, can find a home away from home, which is not really home but their first step into public life, and know that they will be heard, that there are people who are caring for them, and that their entire achievement is not judged on a scale of numbers, of what is success, how it is defined, whether it is defined in terms of numbers or the fact that they could take their first bus from their home, braving the Delhi crowds, and reach college. So, I think that we need to think very carefully as educationists about this word success, about changing lives in what ways, in defining prosperity, and indeed in finding, in locating ourselves vis-a-vis these coordinates that we have set out for this workshop at least. I leave you actually with this huge sense of hope, because I really have faith, I've always had faith in the youth. Regardless of their multitasking and their chill mom, they are the ones who are doing the thinking, who will do the thinking, and it never ceases to surprise me that in a place like Indraprastha College, which also caters, as does other colleges of Delhi University and other institutions, to the persons with disability, we have a huge segment of the visually impaired. It's wonderful to feel in your hands a Braille magazine. A Braille magazine. Can you imagine? Have you ever seen a Braille magazine? The college annual magazine put out in English, in Hindi, in Sanskrit, and then in Braille. If that is not success, what it is? Thank you.